Good morning. Welcome back from the break. I'm James Canati, an attorney in the Industry Guidance Branch of the Office to Counsel. Now, I presume by this point in our program, everybody knows what OIG stands for, right? Good, good. And maybe DOJ too. But what about Mafukus? How about Max? What about ZPICs? Oh, that's good, good. And I do know it's still pretty early to be bombarded with so many acronyms, and it's easy to zone out when someone's up here speaking in governmentese. But it's important to understand who the government, federal and state government players are in the healthcare industry, because that can help you know where to turn and what to do when you encounter a compliance issue. So that's what we're going to focus on for our second session today. I'm going to begin with a broad overview of the different parts of government that work on healthcare issues. I'll also highlight some useful resources that you can turn to when you experience a compliance concern or have compliance questions. After my portion, I'll turn things over to Nancy O'Connor from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services for a more detailed look at her organization. After Ms. O'Connor, we'll hear from Dr. Julie Tatesman, the Chief Medical Officer for the Office of Inspector General, who will discuss the importance of documentation. And finally, Tony Maida, who we've already heard from this morning, will discuss what to do when you're on the receiving end of a government subpoena, audit, or survey, and he will conclude our session by describing how to self-disclose identified problems. Okay, so let's begin. We all know that there are a lot of federal and state agencies that are involved in healthcare. On the program side, there's Medicare, Medicaid, and other healthcare programs like CHIP. On the enforcement side, there's the Department of Justice, the OIG, the many U.S. attorneys' offices, the FBI, state Medicaid fraud control units, those are the Mafukus I mentioned, and others. And then on the regulatory side, there's CMS, the Office for Civil Rights, and the Food and Drug Administration, just to name a few. So with all these different agencies involved in healthcare, where should you turn when you have a compliance issue or question and you need some assistance? Well, first, it helps to clearly identify the general nature of your issue. This may seem pretty obvious, but you'd be surprised how often a coverage issue is confused with a payment issue or program participation issue. It's important to identify the nature of your issue because many different issues may all relate to the same underlying subject matter or topic, but be handled by different parts of CMS or a different agency entirely. If you mischaracterize your issue up front, it's going to be harder and take a lot longer to get to the right answer, and we don't want that. So let's take a look at some resources that can help you avoid that situation and get to the right answer fast. As we've stated throughout the day, there are a number of publicly available resources on websites maintained by the OIG, CMS, and other agencies that you might find useful when analyzing compliance issues. So let's pause for a moment while you take out the handout entitled Recommended Compliance Resources. That should be about partway through your packet there. Does everybody have that? Good. So my colleagues and I in the OIG put together a list of resources that we thought would be helpful to you in analyzing your compliance concerns and issues. You'll note that the list is divided into two sections. The first section includes resources from the OIG. The second section includes resources related to CMS and other agencies. In addition to being helpful as a resource list, you can also use this as a cheat sheet of sorts to help you identify which agency is responsible for your issues by looking at the general subject matter of the guidance they issue or by using the links to see what topics they discuss on their websites. For example, looking at the first section, you'll see that the OIG deals with issues about reporting fraud, the anti-kickback statute, compliance programs, the OIG advisory opinion process, and the self-disclosure protocol. If you move on to the second section, you'll find a general link to CMS's main website where you'll see that CMS deals with issues about Medicare enrollment, program requirements, billing questions, the Stark Law, and the CMS advisory opinion process. If you just scan through some of the URLs in that second section, you'll also see that the Office for Civil Rights, or OCR, handles HIPAA-related questions. We hope that this handout is helpful to you when you have compliance issues or concerns that arise. In addition, if you should find throughout your research that you find yourself at a Federal Register notice. You all remember the scary 3-column document Amanda showed you, right? Well, if you're looking through one of those documents, flip to the front. Oftentimes, there are contact names and telephone numbers for individuals with subject matter expertise on the topics addressed in that notice, and you should feel free to reach out to those individuals. And finally, when in doubt, Google it. Don't be afraid to use your favorite web search engine to run a basic search and find out where you need to turn to help with your compliance issues. So with that very general overview, I'd like to turn things over now to Nancy O'Connor from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Nancy is the Regional Administrator for the Philadelphia Regional Office and oversees the external affairs operations for the 6 states that comprise that region. She's going to provide you with an overview of CMS and its many various contractors, with a focus on the types of issues that each addresses. I think that our overview and insight today are going to be a particularly valuable portion of our training, and we're delighted to have her with us. So with that, Nancy?